Hi, welcome back to 16-Minute Church. My name is Mike, and I hope things are well where you are. Here are a few lines from one of the poems in the Bible. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of Lords, for his steadfast love endures forever. We are continuing to follow Mark's version of the life of Jesus. I'm reading Mark 6, verses 1 through 6, the first part of verse 6. I'll read the passage, and then I will make some comments about the passage, and I hope it will be a big help to you. Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. "Where did this man get these things?" they asked. "What's this wisdom that's been given him? What are these remarkable miracles that he's performing? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? And aren't his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home." He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Now, the main reason this story catches my attention is that we would think that by the time of this story of Jesus, that the people in his hometown would welcome him. By now, Jesus has gained a reputation. He has healed a lot of people. He's been teaching brilliantly, even besting many of the important Jewish authorities of his time. In the previous chapters, we've seen Jesus demonstrate authority over the demonic world and even over death, although he strongly instructs people not to tell everyone about some of his very powerful actions. Still, word is getting around, so why wouldn't people in his hometown who knew him as a child be happy for him and celebrate and trust him? Now, in another account of Jesus returning to the town in which he grew up, which is the town of Nazareth in the region of Galilee, in the north of Israel, in that account, the people actually tried to kill him, or at least to seriously injure him. Mark's account of Jesus in Nazareth doesn't provide that kind of detail, and it may be that Mark has a much shorter account of Jesus in his hometown without many details, or it may be that Jesus visited Nazareth more than once. Either way, in the records of Jesus going to his hometown, the town that he grew up in, the response of the people is the same. They reject him. They take offense, we read. They take offense at him. But again, why? Didn't they know of Jesus' impressive teachings and healings? They seem to know. After all, the people said among themselves, "What's this wisdom that has been given him? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing?" Now, it's possible that they meant to be sarcastic, ridiculing the so-called wisdom and the so-called remarkable miracles that people said were of Jesus. And that would make sense, because in the same breath, the people say, in effect, this Jesus is nothing special. He's just an ordinary hometown boy putting on airs. He's just a regular carpenter from a regular family. After all, we know his mom, Mary, and his brothers, James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon, as well as his sisters, just regular people like the rest of us. Who does Jesus think he is? Now, given that the people had such a dismissive attitude to Jesus, it is no wonder that he couldn't heal many of them. After all, who would come to him for healing if they are so negative toward him? Only a few unique souls who did not go with the opinion of the crowd approached Jesus for healing. Jesus, we read, was amazed by the lack of faith of his hometown acquaintances. And I think that this means that he was taken aback by how people could resist the evidence of the stories, the miracles, and the teachings of Jesus. But sometimes people can be kind of stubborn, resistant to seeing things differently from the way they used to see things. They had opportunity to see Jesus differently from what they had known of him as a young boy and a youthful adult, or maybe they followed the critics of Jesus. Jesus had enemies in high places in the synagogues of the towns. Whatever the reasons, for now anyway, the people were having none of Jesus. After all, could their hometown Jesus really be a proper, bona fide Jewish rabbi, a teacher, one who was gaining quite a reputation, deservedly? Could Jesus really be that kind of person? And maybe this is the kind of challenge that every one of us faces about Jesus. We hear different things about him from teachers, YouTubers, professors, skeptics in our families, from imams, and from gurus. But wouldn't it make a lot more sense to read the accounts of Jesus' life with an open mind and heart? I think that when we do, we encounter the Jesus who was worth trusting when he was visibly active in Nazareth and the surrounding towns. When we look at the accounts of Jesus with an open mind and an open heart, we encounter the same Jesus. He is worth our trust today. So if you are with him, you are doing well. And if you are thinking about walking with him, I encourage you very much to take that step.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you.
We are continuing with Matthew's telling of what's called the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus teaching for an extended time, an extended number of passages, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. And we're at Matthew 7. I'm reading verses 7 through 12. Here are the verses, and then I'll say a few words about them. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, although you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Now you might have noticed that in this passage, Jesus offers 3 very quick encouragements for people to trust in God, to ask God for what they need. 3 very quick encouragements followed by 2 illustrations. And we can deal with these very quickly, these 5 items. But first, let's try to see how this passage connects with the lines just before. We are still in what is called, as I mentioned, the Sermon on the Mount, and in the sections of the sermon just before the passage that we just read, Jesus has been laying out a way of life that challenges his followers to rely less on money and possessions and to rely more on God providing what we need. Jesus has been teaching people to live generously, to have an open hand, we might say, maybe even an open wallet, when we have opportunities to help people who are in trouble and who are, as the saying goes, down on their luck. Treat your neighbor as you want to be treated, Jesus taught. And don't be too worried about material possessions, money, clothing, food, your health, and such things. Put God first. Seek first the kingdom of God. In other words, live your life and speak your words in such a way that the influence of God, his kingdom, not the kingdoms of other people, but that the influence of God can grow. Let God's influence grow in your life, among your Jesus follower friends, and in your community. Now, that way of living can be a challenge. It means taking some risks. While many of our friends, peers, and family members might be building up their wealth, enjoying wonderful experiences, following Jesus means putting those things in second place, not in first place, where we would naturally put them. And Jesus, I think, understands that some of his listeners might be having second thoughts about really putting his teachings into practice. And you and I might have similar second thoughts. And if I'm right, and Jesus has this in mind, the fact that we do have such second thoughts, then these 3 encouragements and 2 illustrations make a lot of sense. First encouragement: ask God for what we need. He hears our prayers. He'll give us what we need. It may not always be what you and I want, or what we ask for may come later than we want, but God will not abandon us. Your prayers are not going up into meaningless space. So be like the people in the Old Testament as well as the New. They spoke to God often about their needs. They asked for his help. Second encouragement: seek and you will find. In other words, when you ask God for something, look for how he answers your prayer. If you ask for an improvement in health and you have opportunity to get good doctor's care or opportunity to improve your diet, isn't that a way that God is answering your prayer? Seek, and you will find that God is near and that he is helping us with our needs. At times you might find that you have to wait for something because God is saying in his own way, not yet, when we ask him for something. And at other times you might find that even though the answer appears to be no, or is a no, that the answer to a request is no, yet God provides support and strength to get you through a difficulty, even a very heart-breaking one. Third encouragement: knock on God's door. Bang on it. Take your cues from some of the prayers in the Old Testament. Moses pleaded and bargained. So did Abraham. David and other writers of the Psalms unloaded their frustration and sometimes their anger on God. I think they were respectful and they spoke to God with reverence, but they were honest with him. So pound on God's door when your needs are great and fearsome. Jesus then reminds us of God's character. So we've got the 3 encouragements, then Jesus reminds us of God's character. We ourselves would not give someone that we cared about a brick if they asked for a dinner, or a tarantula spider if they asked for a fried egg. If that is how we, who are by no means perfect, respond when someone asks us for help, can't we expect at least the same from our gracious God. So, Jesus concludes, stay with the program. Treat your neighbor as you want to be treated, even though that brings you to risks and to a way of life where you don't put your own wants and material possessions first. Help your neighbor as you would want to be helped yourself. Stay with that program. This is how we are called to fulfill all the insights, the rules, the laws of the Lord that are found in the Bible. Thanks so much for plugging into 16-Minute Church this week. I hope the rest of your week goes great. May God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.